The day the Devourers arrived, Captain Sarah Chen was gutting a base she'd caught on Lake Superior. The emergency klaxon shrieked across New Duluth Colony, and she dropped her knife to watch massive shadows eclipse the twin suns of Kepler 442b. The alien ships descended like falling mountains, organic writhing masses of chitin and sinew that pulsed with bioluminescent veins. When they landed, the Earth itself seemed to recoil. What emerged defied every xenobiologist's wildest nightmares. Creatures the size of skyscrapers with too many limbs, too many teeth, and an insatiable hunger for sentient flesh. Within hours, 17 human colonies across the outer rim went dark. The Galactic Council's response was swift and predictable. Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective addressed the emergency session with his species' characteristic clinical detachment. Quarantine protocols are now in effect. All traffic to infected systems is suspended indefinitely. The Devourer threat will be contained through isolation. Contained? Admiral Rebecca Torres slammed her fist on the holographic conference table, her weathered face twisted with rage. These things are eating our people alive and you want to draw a line on a star chart? The Altarian delegate, Kessa Thul, chittered, softly their equivalent of a dismissive laugh. Admiral Torres, your species' emotional volatility is well documented. The Devourers consume all organic matter in their path. No military force has ever successfully engaged them. The mathematical certainty of defeat makes resistance illogical. Mathematics, Torres muttered, then louder. Tell your mathematics to the families on New Terra who watch their children get torn apart by these things. The collective had seen species like the Devourers before, unstoppable forces of nature that swept through star systems like cosmic locusts. The standard protocol was simple: retreat, quarantine, and wait for them to move on to easier prey. It had worked for millennia, but they had never dealt with humans before. 3 months later, the UES Relentless dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge, watching her tactical display populate. With red contacts, dozens of Devourer bioships feeding on the remains of New Duluth. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander James Park reported from the weapons station. All hunter-killer squadrons report ready. Operation Sharp Teeth is a go. Torres allowed herself a grim smile. While the Council debated containment strategies, humanity had done what it did best: adapted, innovated, and prepared for war. The first wave of human fighters screamed toward the Devourer fleet. But these weren't standard interceptors. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves had spent sleepless weeks studying the few surviving recordings from the initial attacks, identifying patterns in the creature's behavior. The new ships were painted with bioluminescent stripes that mimicked the Devourer's own threat displays, their hulls coated with synthesized pheromones that triggered confusion in the alien nervous systems. Captain Sarah Chen, now piloting the lead fighter Fisherman's Revenge, watched her targeting computer lock onto a creature the size of a city block. The thing turned toward her, mandibles spread wide enough to swallow her ship whole. "This is for New Duluth, you ugly bastard," she whispered, and fired. The weapons weren't standard plasma cannons either. Humanity had weaponized their own biology, specially designed viral agents that targeted the Devourer's unique cellular structure, engineered toxins that shut down their nervous systems, and most devastatingly, modified prion proteins that turned their own digestive systems against them. The first Devourer. Chen hit convulsed, its bioluminescent patterns flickering erratically. Black ichor leaked from its wounds as the viral payload spread through its system. Within minutes, the massive creature was tearing at its own flesh. Its hunger turned inward. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The Devourers, accustomed to facing prey that either fled or fought conventionally, found themselves confronting an enemy that had studied them, dissected their biology, and turned their own evolutionary advantages into weapons. But the humans weren't finished. The second wave consisted of boarding ships, modified assault craft designed to penetrate the Devourer's living hulls. Inside, specially trained marine units called gut runners fought through alien digestive tracts and neural clusters, with a combination of scientific precision and savage determination. Sergeant Maria Santos led Delta Squad through the pulsing, interior of a Devourer bioship, her suit's sensors mapping the creature's anatomy in real time. Approaching the neural nexus, she reported, placing charges along what their xenobiologist had identified as the equivalent of a brainstem. The creature writhed around them, trying to digest the intruders, but the Marine's armor had been treated with the same chemical cocktail that made them invisible to the Devourer's internal defenses. They moved like antibodies through an alien bloodstream, striking at vital organs with surgical precision. When Santos triggered the charges, the massive creature's death throes could be seen from orbit. Admiral Torres watched the tactical display with satisfaction as Devourer contacts winked out one by one. But she knew this was just the beginning. Intelligence suggested there were hundreds of these creatures scattered across a dozen systems. "Ma'am," Park called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council." Torres nodded. "Put them through." Ambassador Veltar's image materialized, his normally composed features showing signs of what might have been shock. "Admiral Torres, our sensors indicate that you have successfully neutralized the Devourer presence in the Kepler system. This is unprecedented." "How did you—" "We did our homework," Torres cut him off. "Something your council should have tried before writing off entire systems as lost causes." The Altarian delegate Kesethul appeared in the hologram, his chittering now rapid and high-pitched. Excitement, not dismissal. "Admiral, the mathematical models suggested a 0.0001% probability of successful engagement with Devourer forces. Your victory defies all strategic calculations." Torres leaned back in her command chair, allowing herself a rare moment of satisfaction. "That's the thing about humans, delegate. We've never been very good at math, but we're excellent at making things up as we go along." Over the following months, human hunter-killer fleets swept through the Outer Rim, methodically eliminating Devourer infestations that had plagued the galaxy for generations. Each engagement refined their tactics, improved their weapons, and added to their growing reputation as the species crazy enough to hunt the unhuntable. The Galactic Council eventually established a new protocol for Devourer incursions. Call the Humans. Captain Sarah Chen, now commanding her own hunter-killer squadron, often thought about that day on Lake Superior when the monsters first arrived. The fish she'd been cleaning seemed insignificant compared to the cosmic predators she now hunted across the stars. But the principle remained the same. When something threatened what was yours, you didn't run. You picked up your knife, studied your prey, and got to work. After all, humans had been apex predators long before they learned to travel between stars. The Devourers had simply reminded them what they were born to do.